What's up, guys and girls? Today is April 15th, 2022. Thanks a lot for watching. We've had our morning coffee, we've listened to the MoxMan, we've seen the hot 10 cards selling for Magic the Gathering throughout the week. But now it's time for our most compelling analysis, the bottom 10 reserve list cards that no one cares about, that we're buying. We are looking at the bottom 10 reserve list no one cares list, starting out with number 10, Phyrexian Portal. Here's a card no one cares about. It's 3 mana, it is from Alliances, it's on the reserve list, it's got an activated ability that is very interesting considering the amount of cards it goes through in a deck. Pay 3, target opponent looks at the top 10 cards of your library and separates them into 2 piles face down. Alright, so this is a great card to be in the top 10 because the card says right on it, the top 10 cards. You choose one of those piles and remove it from the game, search the remaining pile and put one of those cards into your hand, shuffle the remaining cards into your library, ignore this effect if you have fewer than 10 cards in your library. So you do need 10 cards to activate this baby. It's sitting at $3.50 if you're getting it in Canada, €3, 8 euro cents. That's what this card is coming in at for price. The Phyrexian Portal from Alliances, again, it is on the bottom no one cares list. Coming in at number 10 is the Phyrexian Portal. And the number 9 card. Here's a card, and all the cards from Urza's Saga, or Urza's Destiny, or Urza's Legacy that are sitting in a rare slot that aren't really seeing any price action, anything more than a couple of bucks. But we got Argothian Wurm on our list, coming in at number 9. This is a 6/6 Trample Boy. 1 green and 3. It has an interesting mechanic that's put on it. When it enters the battlefield, it's an ETB. Any player may sacrifice a land to put Argothian Wurm on top of owner's library. So that's an interesting ETB. If somebody's willing to lose a land, if they have one extra one in play, they could sack a land to get rid of this, or you could sack your own land if you wanted to. If you're blinking this, it's a 6/6 trample for 4 mana. It's green and it's from the Urza block. This one's coming in, Argothian Wurm, number 9. A card no one cares about, and it's on the bottom end of the reserve list, and we're buying it. And we're buying the Gustha Scepter. We like this card too. So at the number 8 slot on the bottom 10 reserve list cards that no one cares about, we got the Gustha Scepter. Now this is a card that I really like for a long time in Magic the Gathering. It's 0 mana. It's an egg. It costs nothing to play. It takes up a card slot in your hand. It's comparative to like a Mishra's Bauble or something that is just taking up room in the deck. It's a 0 cast. There's a lot of artifact synergy that comes in the game these days. It says this is actually an interesting card. If Gustha's Scepter leaves play or you lose control of it, put all cards under Gustha's Scepter into your graveyard. Alright, tap it, put any card from your hand face down under Gustha's Scepter. You may look at the card at any time. Alright, so you get to put a card under, you get to tuck. You tuck a card under the Gustha Scepter. If it's untapped, you may tap it to return any card under Gustha Scepter to your owner's hand. Interesting in wheel, when there's a wheel going around, this is something that can be used to tuck cards. There is actually a deck that was a tournament winner back in the 90s. I believe this card was part of a combo deck that would snap win on turn 1, if you can believe it. We'll have to do a little research for that deck, including the Gustha Scepter and the wheel mechanics. So this Gustha Scepter is on the number 8 slot of Brody Alfonso's bottom 10 reserve list cards that no one cares about, that no one's buying. And the number 7 card. Well, this is an interesting one, because I'm not going to say that no one's buying this card. So this one is still on the bottom 10 reserve list cards no one cares about. The Thrull Champion. Thrull Boy, number 7 on Brody Alfonso's list. The top 10 reserve list cards that no one cares about. Thrull Champion, it's 4 generic mana and 1 black for a 2/2 Thrull. It's a Lord. All Thrulls get +1/+1. It also taps to take control of target Thrull. You lose control of Thrull if Thrull Champion leaves play, or you lose control of Thrull Champion. Alright, well, Tevish that. If Thrulls come back, this is going to be a card that everybody's going to want. But really, right now, there's not a lot of support for that tribal. in this period of Magic the Gathering. So unless we see a change in that, Thrull Champion is not gonna be going anywhere. But it is number 7 on the top 10 reserve list cards that no one cares about list. Just like this card, number 6, Rainbow Vale. Rainbow Vale is a land from Fallen Empires. We got to take a look at some of the print run numbers on Fallen Empires. It's astonishing. Fallen Empires has a lot of cards printed, but a lot of cards didn't make it, out of the first 10 years of the game. They beat up pretty bad. They saw a lot of wear. They were discarded, thrown away. There was so much Fallen Empires printed that a lot of it got discarded, or if it's still kicking around, it's not in very great shape. This land taps for a mana of any color. It doesn't enter tapped. It just comes into the battlefield and taps for mana of any color. Control of Rainbow Vale. Just interesting. Before I get on to the next part of the card, it's interesting to see how Magic cards were worded back in those days. Tap, add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool, period. Then control of Rainbow Vale passes to opponent at end of turn. So very simply worded, at end of turn. If you have any way of untapping it, there's no way that this thing is thought to exchange control until it actually becomes your end step. Then that will go. But if you have ways of untapping it, using it multiple times, sacrificing it, or returning, sacrificing it to an Argothian Wurm or anything like that, there is a slot for this card in Commander and other decks around that time period, getting into old school, if you want to include cards from the Fallen Empires block, because it is 1994. So old school being a format, this is a card that actually is super relevant. Rainbow Vale on the top 10 reserve list cards that no one cares about. And who could have a top 10 list about cards no one cares about unless you had Bosium Strip? At number 5, Bosium Strip. Another card that does shenanigans. It's from Weatherlight. It's 3 mana. It's an artifact. This thing apparently people are just starting to care about it. Until end of turn, at any time, the top card of your graveyard is an instant, interrupt, or sorcery card. You may play that card as though it were in your hand. If you do so, remove the card from the game. So graveyard order matters with this card. If you're a player that played in Type 1 and Type 2, if you played back in the day, you knew graveyard order mattered because of cards like this. I see a lot of people picking up and handling their graveyards and spreading them out and organizing them in modern and recent formats, standard. It really was a faux pas back in the day to rearrange your graveyard, and especially for cards like this. Old school players can appreciate the card Bosium Strip because of the way it manipulates the top card of your graveyard, allows you to flash back. Today you would just say flashback, but this is a card that nobody really cares about. It has spiked up in price. Maybe some people are buying it. It's sitting at $6 or $7. You can probably find it online for right around there. It's hit 25. We'll see if that comes down, but really this is a card that nobody really cares about, and we're buying. Just like this guy, Zuberi Golden Feather, flying 3/3 Griffin. This guy is a legend. I believe he's errata to be included in the Griffin creature type, but he's a card on the reserve list that nobody cares about. We care about Zuberi, the Golden Feather, we do, and we have a home for him here at Alphonsoinvestments. He's a flying 3/3 lord for Griffins. This doesn't seem relevant, but if you consider the changeling mechanic as a creature of any creature type, then this card just fits right in the deck as another lord. It counts as a griffin. There you go. It's a 3/3 for 5 mana. It's just another lord. It's legendary. It's white and it flies. And it's on the reserve list and no one cares about it. Zuberi, don't worry, we care about you. And the number 3 card, that brings us into our number 3 card, another artifact on the list. The artifacts seem to be underappreciated sometimes in the reserve list, and the number 3 coming in at number 3 is none other than this card, Aeolipile. Try to say that 10 times fast. It's a 2 mana, another Fallen Empires card. It's 2 mana, and why is this card nobody care about it? Well, because it's 2 mana and it does direct damage, and it's relevant in old school, and it costs 1 to deal 2 to the face. It's like a early rendition of a spell bomb, I guess it is. It's one of the only cards that was printed in the available in the old school format that could do damage and deal with any of the white knights, black knights, Order of Leapburg, because it's colorless damage. Here's a card no one cares about. Although fragile, the Aeolipile could be quite destructive. Serpadian Empires Volume 1. This card is definitely on the bottom of the list of the reserve list cards that no one cares about. Aeolipile. We care about this card, and we're buying it. And if you didn't care about that card, then you're definitely not going to care about this card. Why would you care about a 5/6 Djinn from the Visions set that tramples? It's on number 2 on the list of the top 10 cards that are on the bottom of the reserve list that no one cares about. Djinn from Visions. Look at this boy. He's been on a downward trend. I think he saw a little bit of a price. I don't even know why. Probably because we bought some in 2021. During your upkeep, each opponent puts a +1/+1 counter on each creature he or she controls. Can you talk about synergy? Hello, this card just puts counters on absolutely everything but yours. Okay, there's got to be over 1,000,001 reasons why that's a bad thing, but there could be some reasons why that's a good thing. Consider cards that kill everything that has a counter on it, or even the new Ramirez de Pietro card that can't be blocked by creatures with a power greater than 2, I think. So he can't be, you put counters on things, they become bigger. Things that can't be blocked, things that have a wand that make them unblockable or have evasion for bigger creatures. All of a sudden, putting counters on your opponent's stuff can not only be something that could be asked for or preferred around a 4-player commander game where you're the guy just giving out counters to everybody. It's definitely an interesting card, but it's on the bottom of the reserve list, and it's definitely in the top bottom 10 that no one cares about, so we're buying it. And the number 1 card that is at the very bottom of the reserve list in the dumpster that nobody cares about is going to be none other than this man, the Broham, the Icatian Lieutenant. He is a 1/2 soldier, and he is underappreciated, and he is on the bottom of the reserve list that where no one cares about him. He is a 1/2 soldier who can give any soldier +1/0 until end of turn for a white and 1. He costs double white pips. He's hard to play, and he's from Fallen Empires, and he is legal in old school. Again, no one cares about this guy. I saw a really awesome red-white, like a Boros tech for old school. It was a really fun deck list. I think I actually built it, and it includes the copies of this guy, the Icatian Lieutenant, and it's a fun, cheap, easy deck to build, and it's old school. Icatian Lieutenant, the number 1 card on our list that is the bottom of the reserve list that no one cares about. So if you've seen the top 10 hottest selling cards on Magic the Gathering today, we know what they are. We've heard from the Moxman. We've heard from everybody on YouTube what the top 10 selling cards are. Here are the top 10 cards that no one cares about, that nobody's buying, that we're buying. Thanks a lot for watching, everybody, and happy Easter. And for those of you watching all the way to the end, my friends and the Freetreons, and for all of those of you tuning in on the juice, I hope you enjoy this weekend. It's always good to know what's hot, and what's trending, and what's the top 10 best-selling cards in Magic the Gathering. But sometimes it's good to take a little bit of a stop, sit back, relax, and look at the bottom end of the spectrum. See what cards aren't selling, what cards might be overlooked, and what cards you might be able to get your hands on. Thanks for watching this video, and we'll talk to you again real soon. This has been your host, Brody. Happy Easter, everyone.